Safety is all important. Safety is the #1 criteria on the job. And safety is an attitude, and it's a team sport. You're not just working out there by yourself, you're working there as a whole team. So, but always remember that it's the #1 criteria.
Safety means to me getting home safe every day to my son.
To value safety is just to value human life.
Don't turn your back on safety.
A couple friends get hurt on different jobs and weren't able to work as carpenters anymore, and they had a rough go just trying to find another job to make ends meet.
Safety is protection.
If you don't know, stop and ask. There's never a dumb question.
Ask yourself, am I safe? Before you're doing a task.
Shortcuts aren't shortcuts.
Compared to a lot in the industry, we're held to a higher standard, and we know that. So when you come on a job site at commercial, you're working to a different standard.
We try to eliminate the hazards rather than putting our people in harm's way.
One of the most effective ways to complete a project safely without incident is to think, plan, prevent. Developing a PTP should include input from the project manager, superintendent, safety supervisor, and trade workers. The pre-task plan shows the name of the task, contact names, phone numbers, steps in the task, potential hazards, ways to eliminate or control those hazards, what to do if a bad thing does happen, and an emergency action plan. Before beginning work, a pre-task plan must be reviewed for your work activity. This acknowledges that you're aware of the job hazards and accept responsibility to be safe. After reviewing your pre-task plan, take the PTP review sheet to your actual work location and review for any site-specific hazards. Use the 10 questions to help identify any hazards that weren't spelled out on your PTP, and then figure out how to eliminate or control them. By signing on the back of the review sheet, you are confirming that you understand the task, the risks, and the controls, and are committed to performing your work in the safest manner possible. Contact your supervisor or safety professional to help you make sure everything is identified and ready to go. While this may sound like a lot of paperwork, pre-task planning reduces incidents on the job site. In fact, it may save your life.
As Corporate Safety Director at CCC, I cannot impress upon you enough how critical the PTP is. Think about this. Are you married? Do you have kids? Maybe even a hobby you like to do on the weekend. Or maybe it's just a pet. Point is, we all have a life outside of work. Chances are you're a lot like me. When you walk through the front doors of your job site, safety might just not be the first thing on your mind. You're thinking about your weekend plans, the vacation coming up at the end of the month, your kid's soccer game this evening. Any number of things are on your mind when you come to work. That's the beauty of the PTP. It jogs your memory, gets your attention, and focuses you and your working partners on the task at hand. It's a simple tool to establish and maintain a safe job site, preventing incidents before they happen. If you pencil whip it, you're not ready to go to work. Review it with your foreman and your crew. Let it do its job before you do your job.
Pre-task plans are the best thing that in the whole safety program, so that you can familiarize what you're doing, others in your area know what you're doing, or if somebody new came in, they could say, hey, what are you doing? And it's a quick, concise answer that they can figure out quickly.
Pre-task plan instills a attitude of safety because we do it every day, and it's there any time to look at in case you have a question or problem you're not sure. You can go over and look at it, make sure that's what's going on.
You're only as safe as the people that you're working with. It's a lot like driving. You can be a very safe driver, but if the next guy in the lane next to you isn't, then you can have an accident.
In addition, you have a right to know what chemicals you're working with, and your PTP should list them and how to protect yourself while using them. When you deal with hazardous materials, you may request and review a hazardous chemical list, the CCC Hazard Communication Program, and the Safety Data Sheet, or SDS. All containers of hazardous materials must have readable labels. Talk to your safety supervisor and use the new pictograms to help determine what hazards the chemical presents. Is it flammable? Explosive? Corrosive? A gas under pressure? An irritant? An oxidizer? Fatally toxic? Does it present a health hazard or adversely affect the environment? Safety observation cards are an incredibly useful tool to help you see it, say it, fix it, so that we can keep people safe.
Hey guys, how you doing today?
Good.
Good.
Mind if I bug you for a second?
Oh, no, not at all.
Good. I'm Steve.
Hey, Steve.
How you doing?
Robert.
I got the PPE card, and I just saw you guys over here working. You mind if I do an observation on you?
No. Oh, no. Go ahead.
Okay. I'll just step back over here for a minute. You guys keep doing what you're doing. Don't let me get in your way. And we'll get back together in a couple minutes and talk about what we found.
All right.
All right.
Good.
The safety observation cards are a great memory jogger and tool to use in the field when you're identifying possible risks. Whether you're tradesmen, project manager, safety, or even executive management, we all use these cards to identify these risks, fill out the safe or unsafe, and we tally them and take them back to find leading indicators. These cards are an anonymous way to look at your job site and find risks and put them in a box to hopefully correct your workspace if there's issues that need to be corrected. There's never disciplinary action taken when you use these cards. They're used for positive outcome.
Hey guys.
Hey.
I filled out the card. If you got a second, we'll go over it.
Okay.
A couple things that I saw that we're doing really good. We got the hard hats on, you got your high-vis vest, and your construction leather boots look really good. A couple things I did notice that we could probably do a little bit better. Caleb, I noticed that when we first started, you had your glasses on, and for whatever reason, you took them off. So, definitely, especially using tools and stuff, you want to keep your glasses on all the time on a construction site. And Robert, I noticed that when you were handling the 2x4 up there, you had your gloves off, and you were up there handling that sharp piece of tin. Do you have gloves?
I have them in my pouch.
Okay.
Sometimes I forget to put them on.
Just try to remember, especially when you're handling material.
Okay.
So, good job, guys. I think overall we look good.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Even though this program is voluntary, everyone on the job site is encouraged to participate to ensure an incident-free project. CCC's goal for each job site is 22 man-hours per card. That equates to each person completing 2 cards a week in a typical 40-hour week. We found that the subs that participate in this program have a better chance of having 0 incidents on a project than the subs that don't participate. We need everybody on the job site to contribute and fill out these cards to make it a successful program.
Ask your superintendent or safety professional, or refer to the poster on the safety board for more information on how to complete a card correctly. And do your part to ensure a safe project for you and your fellow workers.
When you're out there day to day, you tend to forget the small intricacies. And safety observation cards are a good way to remind you different odds and ends that you need to be looking for.
Concrete card, I've taken that out and I've had to remind people to put their face shields on as they're pouring.
While doing an observation, there was a trade that was picking something up and putting inside their lift. And instead of them doing it that way, I talked to them, and we decided to use a crane would be the best way to do it because of the capacity of the scissor lift that they were using. So we got that all straightened out, and everything went real well.
I have observed other people working. The outcome's always good, and it's never negative as long as you approach it the correct way.
Personal protective equipment, or PPE, is required from the parking lot to your work area and back out to your vehicle. This includes a hard hat, safety glasses with side shields, Class 2 high visibility clothing, shirts with sleeves that are at least 3 inches long, long pants, and sturdy leather work boots. Wearing the proper gear is not only required, it's another important safety habit that can save your life and those around you.
When you use a jackhammer, flying debris, the concrete will fly apart, and when it hits you, without the face shield, it could cause some injury.
I've gone through and tried to do a quality check on equipment, and you stand up and you hit your head on various pieces of metal, equipment, and that kind of thing, keeping gashes out of your head.
I've had my hard hat on, and the man above bumped the roof blocking, came down, caught me on the hard hat, and saved me from a serious injury.
When I was in a residential field years ago, a guy dropped a hammer right square on my head.
Those gloves have saved me from a lot of cuts, that's for sure.
CCC has a glove program. Refer to the pre-task plan or check with your supervisor for the proper glove type and size for the task you're performing. Specialty PPE is often required for certain tasks. Tyvek coveralls for extremely dirty work sites. Nomex for flash fire protection. Dark lenses and shields for burning and welding. And hearing protection for areas where noise levels are 85 decibels or higher. Metatarsal guard boots for jackhammering or when the project requires them. All this adds up to doing the job safely and smartly. Don't let anyone work without the proper PPE. Being trained and knowing how to use equipment is one of the first lines of self-preservation. If you don't know how to use something, stop and ask. CCC has prior to use forms and requires all equipment to be inspected before the start of each shift. There's a separate form for aerial lifts, mobile cranes, utility carts, and heavy equipment such as forklifts and backhoes. Make sure you have the correct form for the equipment you're operating and follow the instructions in the legend to complete it correctly. Trade workers who act as ground and signal persons must keep work areas free from other people and must be present when moving or hoisting materials. Additional ground person responsibilities can be found on the back of the aerial lift inspection sheet. Aerial lift operators must be CCC trained, and utility cart operators must have CCC authorization. Crane operators must possess a CCCO certification for the type of crane they're operating. Workers running a forklift must be trained and have a certification card on them as proof of training. Seat belts must be used at all times when provided while operating any company vehicle or equipment. Spotters or escorts are also required to assist operators anytime a load is being moved that could cause a blind spot. Spotters should walk out in front of the equipment to ensure a safe route of travel while maintaining visual contact with the operator on the equipment.
I noticed that there could be some elevated amount of distraction. It would be, sometimes it's the holidays, sometimes it's things that are going on in people's lives, sometimes it's a low morale because someone got hurt and they're all thinking about that guy.
I try to stay focused. I just think about everything's got to be done right, everything's got to be done in the correct manner to keep everybody safe, and I just think about going home and same way I came in.
You got to stay focused because if you don't, it only takes a second for something to go the other way, and it's never a real good outcome.
I see with the new generation come up, their big distractions are their phones, their earbuds in their ears. They don't hear the surrounding noises.
You don't pay attention when you're on your cell phone.
One major distraction to a focused and safe work site is cell phones. Calls or texts during work time are strictly prohibited unless it's business specific. Personal cell phone use is strictly prohibited when operating any construction equipment or driving a commercial vehicle. A ground person must focus on the job at hand. Cell phone use while performing these duties is strictly prohibited. Cell phones can only be used during designated break times. Walking while talking is also prohibited on the job site. Before answering a call, you must move into a safe area, free of vehicle and pedestrian traffic, and stand still until your call is complete. Hot work can be hazardous, so it's critical to establish and maintain a safe work area. Are fire extinguishers nearby? Is the area prepared and clear of all combustible material? Do you have a fire watch on hand? With hot work, you will need to have burn permits approved, fire extinguishers, a fire watch on the job for 30 minutes after the burn, fire blankets in place, and screens and ventilation ready to go if needed.
You know, when I was an apprentice, I was a fire watch, and it's a really boring job. But there was a small fire about this big, and it was in a grease pit. And I thought it was cool because I sat there for 6 hours and finally seen a little spark, a little flame. And the journeyman said, "Yeah, you probably want to put that out. It's in grease, you know." So you have to take your job seriously. I know it's boring, but it's something that could potentially grow. So we need to take it serious.
I actually set myself on fire wearing a safety vest, which you should take off when you're doing hot work because it's flammable. So in that instance, I just caught my vest on and I had my fire watch person there and they caught it and it was no issue after that. They supply burning jackets for you when you're doing hot work. So it's probably best to wear that.
There was one time that I was on site, this was quite a few years ago, and a gentleman actually had frayed pants on. He was hot working with a torch. Well, next thing you know, he caught himself on fire.
There are 3 main kinds of fires and 2 site-specific. Class A fires involve ordinary material like paper, wood, and plastic. Class B, flammable or combustible liquid. Class C, electrical fires. Site-specifically, there might be Class D, flammable metals, and Class K, kitchen fires. If you need to use a fire extinguisher, remember, pass. Pull the pin, aim at the base of the fire, squeeze the trigger, and sweep back and forth. Using hand and power tools is an everyday part of our job, but remember, if they are not used properly, they may pose hazards. Always use the correct tool for the job. Homemade tools are prohibited. Keep your tools in good condition. Handles should be tight and free from defect. Don't use a modified tool, whether it was made at home or on the job. Cutting tools should be kept sharp. And remember to use the proper cutting tools for tie wraps. Pocket knives are not allowed, and if your task requires a utility or other knife, your foreman will provide it along with cut-resistant gloves. Knife use must also be listed on the PTP. Make sure power tools are properly grounded or double insulated. Switch off and unplug power tools before changing blades or servicing and repairing. Know the information on your PTP and wear the required PPE. Wear clothing that is not too loose or torn that may catch on power tools. Unplug and put tools away in the proper location after use. Some tools require 2 hands, like angle and cut-off grinders and portabands. CCC has specific training that is required before using a cut-off grinder and other specialty equipment like the Piranha. Consult your foreman to schedule this training. All electrical tools require a ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI. The GFCI must be installed at the power source. If you're using an extension cord on the job, look for damage before each use. Inspect the prongs, cords, and strain relief. And take care when removing cords by pulling on the plugs, not the cord itself. And, speaking of electrical safety, remember to keep 20 feet away from overhead power lines. Protect yourself and others by posting warning signs. Assume that all lines are energized, and remember to use fiberglass ladders. Lockout-tagout is a safety procedure that ensures dangerous machines are properly shut off and under your control so they cannot be started up again prior to the completion of maintenance or servicing work, and prior to you getting out of harm's way. Why is this so important? The 5 main causes of lockout-tagout injuries is the failure to stop equipment, failure to disconnect the power source, failure to dissipate residual energy, accidental restarting of the equipment, and failure to clear work areas before restarting. CCC yellow control locks are your verification that the energy source or system has been shut off, verified to be in a zero energy state, and locked out. The yellow lock must be in place before any personal lockout locks may be applied. CCC personnel will be given an orange lock with one key for personal lockout. Subcontractor employees will be given a specific colored lock by their company for personal lockout. Make sure to put your name, company, and a good contact number on the lock or the tag, and never share your lock or key with anyone. CCC's site-specific lockout procedures are posted on the job site Safety Information Board. This is a great example of how communication and watching each other's back keeps everyone safe.
All right, guys, we got some overhead work and a scissor lift to do. So before we do that, we want to lock out the overhead crane. All right, so we got the disconnect here. I'll go ahead and shut it off. All right, it's locked. We got the yellow key. So we'll go over to the lock box now, and you guys can put your lock on there. Okay, guys, this is the key for the yellow lock on the disconnect over there. So I'll go ahead and throw it in the box, and then you guys just lock on the box. That way nobody can unlock the crane and get you in trouble unless you take your lock off. So go ahead.
Speak up, stay safe. CCC embraces a culture where safety comes first and is dedicated to encouraging employees to have candid conversations about safety concerns with their supervisors.
I am supported at CCC on safety concerns. Everybody at CCC, right down from a labor to high management, is all safety people. We all are safety people, and we can stop anybody or bring a concern up if we have one.
I want somebody to tell me every time I'm doing something wrong. I call it constructive criticism. It's something that we should all accept. A lot of people don't like it, but it's something that we all need to just talk about.
The clients that have hired us have chosen us for a reason. They've chosen us because of our safety record, and safety is important to them too.
Falls from portable ladders are one of the leading causes of fatalities and injuries, so never take climbing a ladder for granted. Remember to inspect your ladder prior to using. Ladders should always be placed on solid footing. Step ladders should be fully opened with spreaders locked. Extension ladders should extend 3 feet beyond the point of support and must be anchored. The pitch should be 4 feet up for every 1 foot out. You should always face the ladder and use both hands when climbing. Have both hands empty when climbing or descending a ladder, and do not work backwards. Keep your belt buckle between the ladder side rails to ensure balance. Never use the cap or the top rung as a step, and only fiberglass ladders are permitted at CCC. When going through your pre-task plan review, identify potential fall hazards in the area around you, such as excavations, holes in floors and roofs, hoist areas, unprotected roof edges, scaffolds, ladders, mezzanines, screen guarding, and man lifts. Remember, anybody working above 6 feet or within 6 feet from an unprotected edge must be tied off. Before putting your fall protection on, you must inspect all components prior to each use. Look for cuts, damaged threads, discoloration indicating wear, abrasions, deformities in the webbing, cracks, burn damage, and missing markings or labels. Any damaged equipment must be removed from service immediately, destroyed, and discarded. Once inspected, make sure it is the right size for you, and be sure to wear it correctly. The D-ring should be located in the middle of your back between your shoulder blades. Your leg straps and chest strap must be connected and adjusted so they're snug, but allow for full range of motion. Fall protection is designed to prevent an injury, and tying to a proper anchorage will save your life. An anchor point must hold a minimum of 5,000 pounds per person. Do not attach anchorage devices to utility pipes, electric conduits, ductwork, guardrail systems, unstable points, or hoists. Eliminate falls by using guardrail systems and hole covers. If the fall hazard cannot be eliminated, a personal fall arrest system should be used. Watch out for swing falling, and be sure your fall arrest system will not allow you to contact the ground or other objects. Personal self-retracting lanyards are the best option when working in an aerial lift or from 6 to 17 feet above the next lower level. If you must exit an elevated aerial lift, it must be listed on your PTP. You must obtain approval from your superintendent and/or safety professional, and you must have additional equipment to maintain 100% fall protection while you're outside of the basket. Remember that in any fall protection situation, a rescue plan must be in place before the work starts. This should be included in the contingency plan section of your PTP. We've all heard the phrase, "A chain is only as strong as its weakest link." When it comes to material handling and hoisting heavy or off-centered objects, the rigging can often be the weakest link. Proper rigging techniques and the way the load is secured can make the difference between a successful lift or a predictable incident. With rigging, one of the first steps is to choose the right tool to fit the task. Have you inspected the rig prior to use? Are sling labels readable? What is the weight of the load and the capacity of the rigging? Will you need softeners? Paying attention to this will ensure safe operations. Never use rope in any rigging application. Rope is only to be used as a tagline to help control a suspended load without exposing yourself to a pinch point or crush by hazard. Correct storage of slings will keep the equipment in good working order and could prevent an incident down the road. Rigging above the headache ball is not a standard practice and can only be done when there's not enough headroom to rig from the hook and approval is given by the project superintendent and safety professional. Once this rigging operation is complete, the operator must inspect the load line above the headache ball to ensure there's been no damage to the cable. If necessary, the cable must be cut and the headache ball reinstalled. Rigging back to the mast of the forklift is also not permitted at CCC. This is typically attempted in order to keep too large of a load on the forks of the forklift. The correct action to take is to get a different piece of equipment, such as a mobile crane, a farm wagon, or perhaps some skates, in order to move the load safely to the job site. When a lift includes 2 or more pieces of equipment to lift one load and rigging is involved, the lift exceeds 75% of the load chart. The loader boom is passing over an occupied building, or special rigging equipment is utilized. The lift is considered a critical lift, and additional measures must be taken. Get with your supervisor and safety professional to ensure capacities and weights are documented on the critical lift form, and a pre-lift meeting is conducted before the lift is made. Communication is another vital factor in keeping people safe. Signs and barricades act as the communication tool, and the color of the sign provides key information. A red sign means a high probability of death or serious injury. Yellow means caution, may result in minor or moderate injury. Green are generally safety signs, reminders of safety procedures, or identify the location of safety equipment. Blue notices provide general information in order to avoid confusion or misunderstanding. Orange signifies the actual or potential presence of hazardous material. A high voltage sign means only authorized individuals will be allowed to work or enter into these locations. Tape is also used to cordon off potentially hazardous areas. Red tape is used where an immediate hazard presents a threat of death or serious injury to employees. Yellow caution tape is used in minor hazard situations, such as a water spill on the floor. Back injuries can be extremely painful and long-lasting. According to the Federal Bureau of Labor Statistics, back injuries account for nearly 20% of all injuries and illnesses in the workplace. That's why every worker should incorporate proper lifting habits.
Yes, I've strained my back several times before from lifting too heavy of objects with no help.
I prevented lifting injuries for myself by assessing what it is that I'm lifting and how heavy it is, and if someone else can help me do it, then we do it that way, but other than that, we just get a fork truck and use that or a Broderson.
Everybody knows you lift quite a bit. I've been doing this for 20 plus years. If you follow the proper lifting techniques, bend at the knees, keep your back straight, keep the load out in front of you, you'll be able to continue on with your career.
How I prevent my lifting injuries is I never lift alone.
If the load is too heavy, don't be a hero. Use whatever mechanical advantage you have on site to move the load. Examples would be a forklift, pallet jack, or even perhaps a pry bar. Always lift with your legs. Work with a partner and place material where you can reach it without a struggle. Consider every safety angle before lifting materials on a job site.
So at CCC, we view our projects being composed of three major components. Number one being safety, number two quality, number three is schedule. And we firmly believe that if all three of those components are maintained in an equal balance, where one or the other is not over or underemphasized, we will have a successful project. So to illustrate that, if you try to imagine an equilateral triangle, that's a perfectly balanced triangle. So if we put those three components on each side of that triangle, that's what we're trying to achieve. So an example of how that balance can be thwarted is if there is a quality issue on the job that requires our crew to stop working and they have to go back and rework what wasn't done in a quality fashion. Obviously that's going to add more time to the schedule, and it's also going to introduce the potential for safety hazards because now we're going back to an area where we previously were. The physical condition is different at that time. So that one side of the triangle has absolutely affected the other two. And you can come up with a million other examples of different things that would cause that to happen. So we firmly believe in balancing that triangle all the way through. And we furthermore expect our supervision to understand this, and that's why we set up the frontline supervision training program that all of our supervisors are required to go through, that clearly spells out the expectations of CCC management and what we expect of our supervision to keep our people safe, working in a quality fashion and on time, which is what we try to deliver to all of our customers all the time, and that's who we are.
All tradesperson and managers can help ensure CCC's projects will be successfully safe, on time, and high quality by practicing the following minimum expectations. Arrive to work fit for duty. Complete the pre-task plan review before beginning work assignment. Participate in the toolbox talk meeting. Complete safety observation cards. Inspect tools and equipment before use. Notify supervisor of fatigue or medication that could impair your ability to work safely or operate equipment. Identify at-risk conditions, equipment, or acts, and stop work when necessary to maintain the safety of yourself and others without the threat of retaliation.
I enjoy working for CCC because there's a lot of support here.
We find a way to get the job done, but have fun while we're doing it and keep people safe.
I've been here 14 plus years. They treat their employees like a family.
I like the fact that you come to work and there's no question that you're gonna go home safe every day because they're taking the extra precautions and making sure that everybody has their pre-tasks filled out. They're big on safety and big on the people to make sure that they go home the way they came in.
In some places they put on a facade, they try to make it look like they're safe, but in actuality they really aren't. But at commercial, they really do value safety. They want you to be safe.
I really enjoy mentoring the apprentices, having the journeymen and the apprentices work together. Because I certainly remember when I started, I didn't have that. I was thrown in.
With our safety program, it's dynamic, it's not stagnant. We don't, it gets reviewed every year. The safety committee looks at things and makes changes. We ask for information. If somebody has a better way to do things, we ask for that.
If a worker has an idea of how we could be doing a form better, a pre-task plan better, even an action that we do on a daily basis, you can contact your safety person on site, or you can also email the safety committee at our email address.
Commercial contracting safety is the best I've been around. Bar none, for 29 years.
I hope this video has given you the foundation to understand how we value the safety of our workforce here at CCC. As you go out into any job, please remember to consider every safety angle. At CCC, we value the health and welfare of each and every worker on all our projects. We encourage our employees to ask questions and to look out for the well-being of their coworkers. We expect our employees to interrupt any task where they observe an unsafe task or potential work hazard. Our goal has always been to provide a safe and healthy work environment where each worker can go home to their families in the same condition they entered the project. All of us come to work each day in support of our families. Let's work together to make sure we all go home to our loved ones safe and healthy. Thank you.